We are here with the true legend, Sally Ann Triplett. Sally Ann Triplett is one of 4 British performers in the entire history of Eurovision to make it to the contest twice. And she's the only one who got there by winning the UK national finals both times. She's gone on to have a remarkable career in theatre, notably Anything Goes, Guys and Dolls, and a truly inventive staging of Sweeney Todd. Sally Ann Triplett, welcome.
Hello, what was that? I'm the only one to have done it winning the national.
Yeah, so like Cliff Richards, that they were doing internal selections then, so he didn't have to compete for it. I'm pretty sure you're the only one who actually won Song for Europe twice.
You learn something new every day. I did not know that. So thank you for telling me that.
Just when you walk into parties now, it's the first thing.
Yeah, that's the first thing I say. Yeah.
So just to talk about your Eurovision experiences, your first appearance was in 1980 with Primadonna. At the time, you were still in college.
I was 17. I was still at college and I got the job and I managed to fit it all in around college and all my classes. And on the Saturday night, we were at The Hague in Holland, representing the UK with Primadonna. And on Monday morning, I was at my Megiddo jazz class at 9:30. And there were loads of people missing from the class. And I was like, how come I can make it? And I'm almost sure that I'm probably the only person who is still in the business. So there you go. You have to go to your classes, guys.
There you go. Yeah. A Song for Europe was incredibly close that year. Can you describe the scene?
The BBC News came in at 9 and nothing would get in the way of the BBC News starting at 9 o'clock. There was a frantic discussion between the guys up in the control booth, the people on the floor and the people in it as to whether we would go round again or they did the news and we would come back to it after the news. It was one of those moments where it was a really big, quick decision and they decided to go round and they did it so quickly. If you watch it back, people are like, so what do you want? You want Primadonna? You want Maggie? Da, 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 da. And the winner is Primadonna. And then we come back on and we sing it and then it's like, the news.
The night before Eurovision, Primadonna went out with Johnny Logan's band members and they tried to get you drunk and ruin your performance?
Well, they were kind of like tongue-in-cheek. Let's get them all drunk so they can't sing. Johnny Logan was sensibly in his room having a nice kip. And me and Jane and Kate Robbins, who were down in the bar. And then anyway, we ended up going to our rooms, whatever. And then the next morning, Kate came in and she was like, I've lost my voice. Like this.
And that's the day of the finals.
That's the day of the finals. She did have me going just for half a second, but it was good fun.
The song placed third. Just thinking about like you at 17, that must have been such a whirlwind for you.
If I was to do that now, I would be shaking in my boots. But when you're 17 and all you want to do is sing and dance around and be like an idiot and show off. It was the greatest time of my life. I didn't know what it meant and I didn't really care. And it was just innocent.
Amazing.
Cut to 2 years later when everything goes mad and we're the bookie's favourite and we don't win because there's a Falklands War and there's a girl singing about a little piece. So there you go.
I mean, you see, you do our transitions for us, which is
there you
really
go.
incredible.
I'm here to please.
Yeah. Well, because my next question was going to be, how did you end up in Bardo?
So this is an even better story. I was doing pantomime, which for the American people is a Christmas show. I was doing it with a guy called Steve. And the first time we ever sang together, he was on the other side of the room and we sang Corner of the Sky. And we looked at each other and we knew how to sing with each other. Anyway, we fell in love, started going out during the show. It was our last show. And I said to Steve, shall we meet at Hampstead Tube? And he said, I've just got one thing to do that day, but it won't take long. All I've got to do is walk down to Chalk Farm, which is a 10-minute walk, and I need to just sing for Nicola Martin because I was supposed to be in Bucks Fizz last year, but I had to pull out. And I said I would be in whatever band she did this year. So I've just got to sing, and she's going to create the band around me. So I said, can I come with you? So I sat in the waiting room came out with Nicola and she looked at me and she said, I know you. You were in Primadonna 2 years ago. And she went, come in and sing with Steve. And of course, we had this connection that you can't buy and you can't train or rehearse for. We just knew. And she went, I want you two to represent our music at the Song for Europe. And we walked out. We spent the next 3 years together, but we walked around London knowing that we were the band in the Song for Europe. It was wild.
So I got to say that I feel like there's a movie here. This love story ending up at Eurovision.
Yeah, call Will Ferrell.
How was the second experience at Eurovision different?
It was just Steve and I, and we were like going out, and we were in love, and we had each other. The song was highly regarded, whereas Primadonna got to number 48, I think, in the charts. Bardo got to number 2, only pipped off the first position by Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. We were always on the telly. We were always recognised. The competition was in England. So we were bookies' favourites. No one else was near us. But the war, and they all kind of went against us in the end. They couldn't not put a 7th because the song was so good. Live, it was a bit tricky. It was tricky to pull that off live.
I love One Step Further so much, and I love both the live version and in its recorded form. The difference in the arrangement is really striking. The synths that you have on the recorded version are these production elements that firmly placed it in a very contemporary pop kind of world. And in Eurovision, particularly 82, like the full orchestra was there.
The thing about our track was that Andy Hill was really influenced by ABBA. So when we did our vocals, each harmony was 7 times. 7 of that, 7 of that. So at some points there were 21 Sallys. And what happens is when you get it condensed back down to one voice, it takes on a new sound.
I have to say there's nothing I look for in music more than 21 Sallys. So
No.
You mentioned the Falklands War was partially responsible for One Step Further's result and how politics play into Eurovision as you see it.
Back then, I had really no idea. I just kind of knew that was going on. But nowadays, of course, it's just so obvious when the voting comes in that you're like, that country's going to give that country 12 points. And because of lots of things, one of them being Brexit, we have not been getting any votes, except when someone comes along that is so damn good and such a good singer and such a lovely person that they can't help but give him 12 points over and over again. And that's when Sam just changed everything for us.
His song Spaceman took a second place in 2022.
Sam Ryder was part of this deal that BBC had with TAP, and I think people were very optimistic about it. And now after I would say an unexpectedly poor result for Mae Muller, that deal has fallen apart. What do you think the problem was?
I just don't think it was good enough. And I don't think the visuals were good enough. I don't think what she was wearing was good enough. She's great. And actually, the song is such an earworm. But the visuals, I watched it and thought, God, that was really dull compared to so many other things. The woman that won it is, to me, she's just a goddess. She doesn't have a violinist and some tumblers and some Russian grannies.
Yeah.
She literally just enhances the song, and it's like an acting piece. I think other countries in Europe, they pick one of their top performers, and then before the Eurovision gets started, it's played on the radio everywhere, and they've done a tour, and they've done stadiums, and so everyone knows them. It was such an iconic night of our year. It was this fantastic competition. We had Cliff Richard, we had Lulu, and then we just fell off the ball with it, and it became a joke. Francis Raffel did it, and Michael Ball did it, Lucy Jones from Wicked, theatrical people, which is a little bit frowned upon. And I know that because both my children are incredible musicians, and their mummy's in musical theatre, and they're a little bit like, oof, with, you know, in the nicest possible way.
To go back to Bardo, we talked about One Step Further, hits number 2 on the charts. You release 3 more singles?
2 more,
Two more singles. And then you and Steve start a new band?
When a band is created from nothing, that band have not come up with the music, the image, the vibe. I remember going into the A&R people and they said, what do you want to do next? And it was like, who are we? Sometimes we'd wear an Aran jumper. The next minute I had like rags in my hair and we'd had like cowboy boots. We started playing pubs and playing our own music. We were on a program called The Tube. They had a signed band and an unsigned band every week. And one week, the unsigned band was Co-op City, which was our band. And the signed band was Tears for Fears. And honestly, I felt like we were the Beatles. We had our groove and we had our image and we had our sound and we had our everything. And it just didn't quite work.
You and Steve dated and remain friends to this day. Can you talk a little bit about your working and performing relationship with him? Was the mix of personal and professional part of the magic? Were there challenges?
Oh, God, no. That word challenges didn't exist. That didn't exist back in 1982. Times were different and we just enjoyed it. And we went all over Europe. We went to Germany and did TV. People screaming all over the car for Steve, not for me, but just fun.
That's really amazing. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Sally.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Long live Eurovision.
Yes,
and
long live Eurovision.
May the US take it under their wings.
Yes,
Mind you, Australia's in it. What am I
that's the thing at this point.
They did an American Eurovision. It was called the American Song Contest.
Oh my God, why?
And it was like, instead of countries competing, it was the states.
And it's all going to sound the same. Well, not the same.
Yeah. Well, it's not the same cultural exchange as you get. Yeah.
I love it when they sing in their own language. I love that.
I will say, on the American Song Contest, Florida did sing in its own language. It was really great. Anyway. All right, Sally, thank you so much. This was really incredible.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
All the mysteries of the Euroverse.